Hello, everyone. Welcome to Optimizing Dynamics GP with wsTOOLS. I'm Deb Slutmone, and I'm going to be walking you through some of our most popular tools today and showing you a few that you might not have seen before. So let's go ahead and get started looking at some of our popular tools. If you can see here by our quick little graphic, just talks about what our overall tools do, whether it's making things easier, simplifying tasks, allowing users to be way more accurate because they're not rekeying or trying to do a fix, automating processes, and of course, expanding visibility. We look at solutions that we have across modules from financial all the way through even to key to act. So if you're looking for something, we're going to try to hit a few of these modules today as we talk through some of our popular tools. Just one of our partners and one of his quick quotes that he says about why he likes the tools and what they add to customers and to their solution. And now let's go ahead and let's dig into a few of our tools for financial. If you notice here, I've got not only inventory round, posting controls, a use tax option, bank bridge, and summary recalc. Let's take a look at a few of those. Of course, with inventory, it's always a pain point when things don't round quite correct. You might be left with one item with hundreds of dollars where everything else is in ones and twos. The idea behind inventory round is it pulls that one item out, handles the entry into the general ledger, but then reposts that entry, that item back in with the correct cost like it should be. So all items are going to have the same margin and not one item be left out in its separate inventory batch. Posting controls, whether you have different rules for posting, need more specifics as far as a user that edits a batch can't post it. Different ways just to control different series of posting as well. Our use tax option, for some of you that have trouble with use tax, we have really simplified use tax. And what we're doing is just allowing it to have a pop-up that specifies the tax, the total, allows it to post correctly into the ledger like it should. And our bank bridge, how many times have you gone to put an entry into general ledger? When you're putting that entry into GL, you forget, oh, it's a bank transaction. It won't update checkbooks because checkbooks, of course, only update GL. And this little piece, this GL bank bridge, allows you to not only put the transactions in to general ledger where you might want to, allows you to use your copy paste, which we all know we love, but we don't get with bank. And when it sees that bank entry, it's going to pop up a box that says, do you want to also add these to bank? So guess what? Your controllers now can do entries the way they want without having to do separate transactions to bank or possibly miss them. Okay. And then, of course, our summary recalc. Popular tool right now because as we're all thinking year end and what do I need to do for AP and AR? Summary recalc says don't even worry about AP AR because you can tell it to close as many times as you need to, and that data is always going to be correct. So if your users love to use SmartList, which we all do, and they may want to pull fields that you say, oh, I don't know if that field's going to be correct because we didn't close quite right. We maybe closed after 3 batches had posted. Well, summary recalc takes all of that away. So let's go ahead and take a look at a few of these pieces that we have in financial. So the first one I want to demo, and I'm not going to demo every tool, guys, because of course we would need way more than a half an hour, but I'm going to demo some nice easy ones for you so you can get a feel of how we really help improve that overall utilization of GP. If you notice here, my checkbook is 000-1100-00, okay? So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to do my entry to the general ledger. My computer wants to cooperate with me here today, and I'm just testing bank bridge. And I love this one because I really like to use copy paste, okay? I won't make you guys sit through my copy paste today, but if you notice here, when I'm doing an entry to that 1100, okay, oops, better make my entry balanced, okay? And I'm going to go ahead and put this into my batch, and I'm going to tell that one to save. And now, as soon as I save or post, I'm going to get this message. Do you want to add the entry into bank? Wow, that 1100, it knew because it looks at my checkbooks and says, is there an entry for the checkbooks? And if I say add here, it's going to go ahead, pop up my box, create my bank transaction. Right there's my bank transaction with my general journal entry number, my increase and my decrease here. I'm not worried about on the GL side because remember I was handling them in the back of my general journal. But now I'm going to go ahead and post that through. My controllers are happy. They don't have to do transactions in the bank module. They can do the GL entry from here, from WS transaction entry. Everybody is in sync. Okay. Now, if you were doing a transaction that was more of a fix, and you all know what I mean, you could say no to that, put it into bank, and it would bypass that product altogether. So it's one of my favorites, if you can't tell, just because it's so nice and easy to use. Okay, I'm going to switch and go over to take a quick peek. Grab a payable guy here, my Ace Travel favorite guy. Notice my Ace Travel is using our ND Fargo use. And when I go ahead and I put 150 here in my purchases, take a peek at my additional, there's my use tax right there. Okay, and what you're going to see as I tab off of that 150, sorry guys, I should have opened that after, forgive me. Okay, you're going to see that that tax now has gone into here, and we are going to go ahead and mark that as use tax. And so now you can see it's going to post back into my miscellaneous, but we have that all coded to go correctly into our tax and tax expense. So we are hitting our use tax payable and our taxes payable depending upon how you have them set up. So nice and easy there. And you can see I've got some of my key to act windows on, of course, but these work specific to just straight just GP windows without the key to act integration. Okay, so nice and easy. And the thing I like about this is for my team, you know, we don't do a ton of use tax, but when we do, people are always, okay, we got to do use tax. And sometimes I will tell you, they'll be like, oh, I'm going to just brush past that because it's use tax. I don't want to do all the extra work. Well, as a controller, I can't have people miss use tax. I want to make sure that if I have the auditors come in, that I know that everything that needs use tax has been recorded correctly. And this ensures that everything not only has been recorded, but it's also going to flow right through to your tax report. So that way, when we're pulling tax reports under company tax reports, everything is perfect there as well. Okay, so that was a couple of our modules, or a couple of our tools. Oh, I almost forgot my favorite tool, which was summary recalc. Sorry guys, that's why I made sure I left him up. Forgive me. Get that out of the way and get back to my screen here. And guys, remember your question pane. You can go ahead and add in any questions in your question pane as well. Okay, so let's see why we can't get our guy going again here. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just delete that guy out. And let's go ahead and take a look at our summary recalc. And if you notice, I have my receivable summary recalc here, but under payables, you're going to have the payables option. So when you go to run a close in GP, you know how it is. This time of year, we're all thinking, when is that last batch going to be done? I don't want to start any new ones until they're done with the last one, but I might have some I have to, I just have to let them sit in a batch because I can't post because I don't want to screw up my AP or my AR close. Well, we created summary recalc, and I will tell you, we have a lot of customers we were running this ones and twos for where they would call in and say, hey, we can't have these numbers being off because remember, SmartList is pulling in from all of the numbers from the close process, right? So what we did is we made a summary recalc, and you could come in here and you could say, okay, I'm done with 18. Finally, I'm done. Okay. I know that's only a few days away, so it won't be long. It's coming up fast. And you can come in here and you could say, okay, I really want to recalc my 17 numbers because, my 17 was just bumpy, and I could tell it to recalc the current Okay, current fiscal, whichever one you wanted to do. Okay, so if I wanted to recalc on 17, I could do that for my previous fiscal. If I wanted to redo 18, I could do that. And the same thing with life to date overall. Okay, and just process that. Super easy. And remember, how many times have you guys all thought, okay, where are we at when it comes to purchasing? And I really want to make sure that everything is correct. You know, when you're looking at your summary numbers and you're saying, okay, I don't know if my yearly numbers here are correct, right? So you're going one by one and you're trying to figure out, okay, where did I close at? What was my numbers for close? You know, and this whole window is perfect as far as, you know, recalculating one by one, right? But I want to go across all my customers, all my vendors, and I want to know every time I pull any of these fields onto SmartList or look at it in a window, they're going to be accurate. That's what our summary recalc does. I don't care when we start posting for 19 right now, because I know I can run my summary recalc at any point and the data will be correct. So I can close January 1st, run more payables for 18 if there's a few stragglers that came in that should have been in 18, run some additional pieces for 19. Doesn't matter when I put my checks out, when I post my invoices, because I can run my recalc and all my summaries, my smart lists, all my information here is going to be correct. So again, like I said, guys, one of my favorite tools because it just takes a lot of that timing out of the equation. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's talk some more tools. Let's go over to purchasing. And in purchasing, we have some fun tools as well. If you can see here, we have some options for quick POs, making some changes for PO vendor change and PM vendor change. And of course, my favorite PM unapply. For those things that get screwed up and credits get taken, everyone should have PM unapply. Okay. So let's go ahead and look at quick PO. So how many of you today have people that take, you know, they run to the hardware store, the box store, and they need to pick up 10 things they need for the job. But in order to do that, they might have to call back to the office and get a PO number because they can't purchase without a PO number. Pretty common. I mean, a lot of our, you know, Home Depots, Menards, any of your big box stores, they have an agreement before they can use the company card. They have to actually key that PO number in so that way the systems can track together. Well, what Quick PO does is it allows that technician to send an email right back to the home office via email, and it's going to go out and create a PO number and kick that PO number back to that technician. So no more does he have to wait on hold, wait for somebody to give him a PO number, chit chat with the office. He's just emailing saying where he's at, PO number, and back it comes, pops it right back to him in his email again. So nice and easy and really eliminates, okay, guys, you didn't get a PO number. I got a 999 on my Menards card. Who didn't get a PO number? Because now I got to try to figure out which job that was for. I got to try to figure out, you know, what technician was it for? Because they all figure out a workaround to that, put the number in. And this quick PO really makes it nice and easy for them as well. Okay. PO vendor change and PM vendor change, I will tell you, were made specifically by customers' request. And what that means is they did not want to have to rekey or copy POs. They really wanted to be able to change. Hey, this vendor, he can't deliver. He called back. We thought he thought he was going to be able to do it. We saved it. He comes back and says, sorry guys, I can't get half the stuff. And we end up switching to a different vendor. Well, instead of doing the whole copy and then move that one to history and canceling all the items, we just use our PO vendor change. At the same time, PM vendor change does the same thing. You just selected the wrong vendor. Why start over? Use your PM vendor change. I'm going to show you those as well. And of course, PM unapply, those of you that have that overall document that takes all of those credits, we've all had it happen a million times, and then you go back and you try to fight through it. PM unapply actually takes care of all that. And if you pay a vendor and he comes back and says, hey, sorry, that invoice was wrong, I need to get you a new invoice. Well, instead of, again, voiding a check that has been cashed, now you're able to unapply that whole scenario. The check still stands. The vendor's received the check. He's cashed the check. It's through a bank. I don't want to mess with that part of the transaction. But what I want to do is be able to unapply that from the invoice, let the invoice be voided then, and have that amount sitting unapplied and available to apply to new items on the vendor account. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at some of those. So you guys get to play with those a little bit as well. And remember, we're taking questions. So if you have any questions, make sure you're putting them in to the questions pane inside of GoToWebinar over on your panel. Okay. So let's talk about the first one. Quick PO, I'm really not going to demo for you today because it's pretty self-explanatory. But let's start with some of the easy ones, which of course is I'm doing my payable. You know how this goes. I've got this huge payable in for Ace Travel. It's a monster, okay? It's got tons of stuff. It's got loads of distributions, okay? And I find out, oh, it wasn't Ace Travel. It was someone else. Well, then I can just go up to my additional here at the top and tell it to change that vendor ID. And when I do that, I'm picking out my new vendor ID, and I'm going to make this one to attract a telephone, okay? And I'm going to tell it to commit. And now if you notice, here's my attractive telephone, my 5,000, my distributions, everything stays exactly as it should, except I just didn't have to rekey that entire thing. I know this one seems simple and geez, you know, we can do that by hand pretty quick. But really, when you've got some big payables that your people have put in, it's nice to be able to know that there's a quick way to be able to make those changes and not have users frustrated with the system either. Okay. Now that was it on the PM side, the payable side. But we also have it, the bigger one, which is on the PO side. And anytime we're on a PO and you have tons of line items on the PO, if you notice here, I also have it here on the change vendor ID. And I can do the same exact thing. So this one's set to ABC Plumbing. Well, I'm going to go ahead and move this to my AA Insulation Company and tell it to commit. And now I can see just as easy, it's moved that to my AA Insulation. And any key fields, except for pricing, are going to be changed. So if there's item numbers that are attached to vendor items, I'm actually changing those at the same time. So guys, that was PM, vendor change, and PO change. Remember, with our buy one, get one right now going on through December, that's a great time to get both those tools as well. Now, let's take a look at a little bit bigger tool, which is our PM Unapply. And I just got to find my PM Unapply here. So let me bring my palette up. And I'm hoping I have this one for us. And PM Unapply, like I said, nice, easy tool to use because what it does is allows us to unapply. So any of you that have used RM Unapply, right? So on the receivable side, got a bunch of stuff moving over to history and ding, I got a thing and I got to get it back to open because I need to do some work on it, right? It's the same thing as RM Unapply, the Microsoft tool, with the exception we're doing it for the payable side. So here's my Unapply over here under Utils. And what I'm going to do is I just bring up a vendor and I got to find a guy that's got some stuff. So let's find one of our more popular ones, like our advanced office here. And we'll redisplay. So we've got a bunch of stuff here going. So what happens is, you know, things get applied to specific documents, right? And once on payables, once you have them applied, they're going to move to history all by themselves upon posting. So you can't say, okay, bring those back. But what I can do is I can come in here and I can tell it to unapply this 180.50, okay, and it's really old, so forgive me. And when I tell it to unapply that, what it's going to do is it's going to bring all of that document back for Advanced Office. So now those, they're not deleted, they're not unposted, they're really just brought back to open. So if you guys all remember how this works, purchasing, transaction by vendor, and we were doing my Advanced Office. Okay, so before they would have been included in the history section. But since we just told that 16 document to come back, now you can see here, it's been moved back to open. So at this point, there's nothing applied to it. The payment still stands because this was an actual payment that we made to the vendor. The payment stands, but now the invoice that it was applied to has actually returned to open as well. And now I can say, okay, I could void that invoice. I could reapply that payment to something else. Same thing with credits. Credits are huge here because a lot of times people get things over to history and all those credits get applied, but people really are specific with credits. They want credits applied to the documents that they've agreed to based on the vendor. So PM Unapply takes care of that just as easily as the RM Unapply does. So if you haven't seen that one, that, like I said, one of my favorites, PM Unapply. So guys, we are just moving right along here, and we're going to take a look at a few in our system folder. And the big one here that I want to show you is our drawer product. And I'm just going to jump back because I see, you know, they cut us down now just a half an hour on these webinars, guys. But I don't know about you. I can barely get it all in an hour, needless to say a half hour. Okay, so I'm just going to my employee card here, and up under my additional, you're going to see my drawer product. And what this does is it allows you to do things like you normally would do in Doc Attach, right? So remember how Doc Attach works. People can come in here and they can attach documents like crazy. If they delete them, they'll move to the deleted, and I can see all kinds of things about the attachment. Who did it, the user, the description, the date it was put on. I can have different rules and things around that document as well in the Doc Attach. So that's just plain Doc Attach here inside of GP Dynamics. Well, what a lot of our people were telling us is they wouldn't use Doc Attach because it was wide open. People that had access to the card could have access to way too much information that was put on either a vendor item, a customer, or an employee card. So what we did is we made we made Drawer. And what Drawer does is it allows you to put in folders, okay, up to 10 folders, and it allows you to secure these folders. So let's say Cheryl, she can see grievances and discipline, but she doesn't really get to have access to I-9 information or any of the onboarding, but she can see specific folders. We actually created security roles around all of these, so you could secure them down to the folder end user type application. Now, that works out great as far as the security. So if Cheryl logs in, she only sees her folders. But at the same time, I can go ahead and I can put items in each of these different folders, and I can attach to them. I can rename the folders, and I have a color coding here that really makes it more user-friendly for end users versus just seeing an entire list of attachments. Okay, so that's our Drawer product. And like I said, you have the availability of Drawer in items, customers, vendors, and employees. Okay, so that's kind of a really fun one as well. There's a couple other ones here on the system side that I'll just talk about real quick. One of those is speed switch. So some of you that have really slow logins and moving, you know, company to company, speed switch is going to speed that up by a few seconds per switch. So if you're having trouble with that, let us know. We can definitely do a demo for you of speed switch. And again, it's just taking some of that weight out. We also have a Next ID product. Super simple little product that allows you to get a new next customer number, next vendor number based on your schema. Okay. And guys, I know we're getting close on time here, so I want to just bring up a couple more just of our module level, just so you can see some of the other offerings that we have, whether it's on the sales side, our payment reapply, or quick collect. And quick collect is just going to do that automation as far as emailing out the notices without you even having to think about it. So you could say customers need to get a notification every time they're past due, every time an invoice becomes past due. You can have the SQL Server doing that through what's called quick collect. At the same time, when it comes to our payment reapply, how many times have you put a full payment in the system and then ended up finding out that you put it in underneath the wrong customer. Okay, or you may have rules that say you have to have everything applied every day before it's deposited to the bank. And sometimes that's meaning that you have to deposit underneath that unapplied or unknown type customer. So I'm just going into my sales transaction by customer here, and I'm going to bring up one of our customers, and I'm going to go ahead and find a payment for him. So I'm over here in my payments, and when I'm in my payments, I want to make sure my payment's in open. So you may have to take a payment and actually run your RM on apply, because you need to make sure your payments are in open. Okay, and that's not a hard thing to do. And of course, I probably, when I was just making sure I was all fully tested, got everybody over, here we go, got everybody over to history, because that's how it happens sometimes on my side. I'm going to go ahead and bring up this payment. And again, this one you could do with multiple steps, moving it back and forth. But if you notice here, I have the option to back out this payment for customer ID 102. So when I do that, I get my back out payment, which is my RM reapply. Okay, and here it's going to say unapply. And once I unapply it, then I can go ahead, and remember this one was for 102, but it really should have been for 105. And I can go ahead and put it into my batch. And when I do that, I can go ahead and create. It then creates the receipt in the system and allows you then to go to your apply documents and apply it correctly. This all happens with a full trail as well. So as something does need to be reapplied, the bank transactions are still standing, but the receivables documents are going between customers like they need to without having to create additional banking type transactions. Again, nice, easy little tool to work with. Okay. So guys, I know we're running really close on time, and I'm going to check the question pane here, see if we've got any questions. So guys, make sure you're putting your questions in. I'm not seeing any in right now, but if you have any questions, make sure you're putting them in. Happy to answer. Okay. It's going to take us into a few of our other payroll tools. So some of you that have payrolls, remember we have our payroll rewind that allows you to not only void a payroll check, fix the ACH, I cannot stress that enough, but also allows those transactions to return to the transaction entry window, which means you don't have to rekey. So if you are in a huge hurry to get a void done and have to process because you see that you've missed Susie's pay rate increase, Payroll Rewind takes all of that hassle. It fixes the ACH file, puts the transactions back, so then all you're doing is correcting the pay rate and then going ahead and processing again. If you haven't seen or tried our Payroll Rewind, that's one of my payroll must-haves. Okay? Payroll Handoff, some of you that build payrolls can't actually print checks. Handoff allows it to move from one user to another without having to have the recreation of the batch and the recreation of the build and the calculate process. A lot of our large payrolls love that because it's so easy for them to do a handoff process between payrolls. Okay, we have a number of refreshable Excel reports for both FTEs and PTO, and those definitely get on our list for those. Those are no charge, and the PTO one allows you to post, and it gives you that ability just to do that copy paste back to the ledger. Okay, and then of course here's all of our Key to Act modules. So some of you that have Key to Act, keep in mind that right now with our December special going on, it's a great time to get some of your Key to Act modules or mix in a Key to Act and a GP module. So guys, again, questions into the question pane. So we can definitely take questions here. I could go, like I said, hours on our different tools, but I want to be respectful of everyone's time. We're probably just a minute or two over here, but that is our optimizing GP dynamics with wsTOOLS. Hope you guys all found a module or two that you can say, hey, we need that. Let's put that into our system and get moving with that new tool. All super easy to install and get up and running with very quickly. Keep us posted if there's any tools you want. We are always here to help, either myself or Brandon. And again, happy holidays, everyone. Have a great rest of your day and look forward to talking to you all soon again.